One way to up your game as a guitar player, especially if you want to play guitar solos, is learning how to play solos in different keys. Now, number one, this is going to help you learn your fretboard much better, not just playing on those frets that you normally play on all the time. We're going to expand a little further than that in this lesson here. Now, the second thing is this is going to really expand your songwriting, your riff writing, writing guitar solos. It's just going to send your creativity to another level. Because if you're like most guitar players, and I'm guilty of this as well, we kind of hang in our keys that we're most comfortable with, right? But in this lesson, we're going to expand beyond that, and I'm going to teach you a very simple lick. In fact, it's the lick that you heard towards the end there in 4 different keys. We're going to learn that, but more importantly, I'm going to share some concepts with you that's really going to help you play your guitar solos in any key you want. So let's jump right in. Do hang around for the end of the lesson though. We're going to have our usual guitar chat. I almost forgot to mention to my Patreon supporters, you guys have the backing tracks and the tabs for this lesson. Let's start out with the first lick in the first progression here, okay? We're in the key of E minor, and I'm just going to play the lick out in the open here. Yes, I played it a little differently that second time. I mean, the notes in essence are still the same. I will explain that in a second here. But first, let's quickly go over the rhythm pattern here, because I think it's important to know the rhythms that you're playing the leads over. So 4 chords. We're just keeping this really simple here. Real simple. We're in the key of E minor again, so E power chord, okay, C power chord. Next, we could play a G power chord, but what I'm doing is I'm playing a B over G. Just gives it that really cool sound. Then we end on the D power chord. Now, if you want to learn these rhythms and all the keys that we're playing in, I did actually put a video out, a lesson video ago, the lesson before this video here. I'll put it up there for you if you want to check out the rhythms and just learn those, and then come back to this one and learn the lead patterns that we're going over. Back to the lead pattern. Let me play that one more time and I'll slow it down. The beauty of that is we're just going to play that same pattern in different keys. We're going to do that 3 more times, but in a different key. So that helps simplify things, and I'll tell you more about that, why we're doing it that way, in our guitar chat. So do hang around for that. Those are always a good time. Okay, so, and I did play it differently. I told you I was going to explain that, and I will explain that, but let's just talk briefly about these notes here. So in this key, we're starting out on the G string 9th fret. As you see, I'd roll over to play the 9th fret of the D string, then back to the G string, okay? That's a little strategy I like to use sometimes, and you can just take this concept and just like run with it, okay? After that, we're gonna go up, we're back on the G string here, we're gonna go up to 11, 12, 11. Back to that 9th fret, then we're going to hop back over to the D string, D string 12, 9, 12, then back to the G string 9th fret, okay? So very simple pattern here. All right, remember I talked about how I played it just a little different that second time around, and the way I played that and everything that I did, like, you know, movement to movement, is really not that important, guys, but the concept is very important, and I want you to take this away. And I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm just doing some bends. Sometimes instead of going from one note to the next, Sometimes it's cool to throw in a different method, such as a string bend like this. And all I'm doing is just doing a little bend from 11 to 12 there, starting out. Instead of just playing the notes, just picking the notes, I'm doing that little bend there just to add a little flavor. It's just a little bit of hot sauce on the chicken wings or some chocolate syrup on the vanilla ice cream, right? That's all it is. And both of those things sound really good right now. And I kind of do the same thing when we head over to the D string, 12, 9, 12. I kind of bend that 12th fret before going back over to the G string 9th fret. Listen to this ending right here. It's like you're bending up to that note, but then you go to that note all of a sudden right in the middle of that bend. So it's just a really cool strategy. Now, what's important is just the concept, the simple concept of throwing in something different, just giving those notes a little bit more feeling. Some of the notes you might just play the note, okay? That's fine. Some notes you might add a little vibrato. And another bend, okay? Again, the concept is what's important. So I want you to think in terms of, okay, I learned the notes. What else can I do with those notes? Now, let's move on to the next progression. And I'll go through these next progressions a little bit quicker because we've got the pattern. All we're going to do, again, is just replicate that in a different key. I'm going to talk about the easy way to do this. So this second progression, we're in the key of F sharp minor, and let's learn the rhythm first. Same pattern, okay? This is the beauty of this whole lesson here. That progression was the same as the progression in E minor. We just moved everything up a whole step to play it in F sharp minor. So we've got the F sharp power chord, okay? And again, that's a whole step from the E power chord, right? You're at the E power chord, skip a fret, go to the next one. You're at the F sharp power chord, okay? Then we go to the D power chord. Remember, that's a whole step up from the C that we played in the E minor progression. Then we go to that really cool power chord. Okay, this one right here. Which we're playing a C sharp over A. You could play the A power chord there if you wanted to, but I like that C sharp over A. It just sounds cool. And then we end with that E power chord. What we're doing, and this is the easy way to change keys for your guitar solos, okay? Anytime you've got a specific rhythm you're writing and you want that lead to be this, okay? But now you want to change keys, well, just remember, how many steps did you move? What key you're playing in now, what key you're moving to, and how many steps you took to get to that key, okay? Either forward or backwards, it doesn't matter. Again, in this case, we only went one whole step. So we started out with that E power chord, but now we're moving to F sharp, okay? E minor, F sharp minor. Just one whole step. So pretty easy there. What we're doing with the lead pattern here, and I don't mean to spend so much time on the rhythms here, guys. I know some of you are like, Jason, just get to the lead part. But I think it's important to understand the rhythm pattern, the rhythm structure, because it's only going to help you know where to go when you start playing that next progression in that next key. All right. What I really want you to do is not even watch this next part of the video. Just pause it and see if you can figure it out, right? We went from E minor to F sharp minor. Everything moved up a whole step. So what would that be in terms of that lead pattern that we just played? Hey, pause the video, figure it out, then unpause it, and let's get back to this lesson here. All right, so here's the second pattern in the key of F sharp minor. And I started out by hitting the wrong note, guys. Hey, that happens. I like to put my bloopers out here in the open. It's like that Human League song, I'm only human. All right, here's the second pattern in F sharp minor. It's exactly the same thing. We just moved everything up a whole step. Remember, we started on the 9th fret of the G string. So we go a whole step, which means we skip a fret here, and we start on the 11th fret there of the G string. Everything else remains the same, exact same thing. So that right there is really kind of the secret of learning solos in different keys, because what you're doing here is you're replicating a pattern in a key that you're probably familiar with. That's why I started in the key of E minor. You just replicated that in a completely different key. Now what we're doing is we're learning where those notes are on the fretboard in a different key, and this is a great way to learn the fretboard. We're going to talk about expanding way beyond this, by the way, in our guitar chat too. A lot to cover in our guitar chat at the end, so hang in there with me. Let's go over the third progression, the lick in the third progression. Now we're going to go to the key of A minor, so let's do what? Let's play the chords. Let's play the chords in that key. Now, if you want, the simple way to do this is just play everything we did and exactly how we did it in the key of E minor, but just go over one string. That's it. So we've got the A power chord in the key of A minor, then we go to that F power chord, then we play that really cool sounding chord, which is an E over C, then we go to the G power chord. Now, we are going to start our lead pattern instead of on the G string. We're going to start that out on the B string. So this is going to change things just a little bit. The pattern's really not going to change, but remember your notes and the way you play those notes in relation to what we did earlier, they're going to be a little bit different going back and forth between the B and the G strings here. So here's the pattern. All right, so we're on the B string, starting out on the 10th fret. Then we're going to go over to the G string, but we're not going to roll over to that same fret again, because that little mishap of notes there, you know, between the G and the B string, okay? And you guys know what I'm talking about. So instead, we're going to go to the 9th fret of the G string, right? So you won't be able to use that one finger to roll over and roll back. What I'm doing in this case, I'll use my middle finger on the B string, 10th fret, and I've got my first finger for the 9th fret of the G string, and then back over. And then everything else is pretty simple for the most part. We're going to go up to frets 12 and 13, then back down, okay? And then we'll head over to the G string, 12, 9, 12, then back over to the B string 10. Okay, so let's go through that real slow. One thing I'll point out real quick, I tend to use different fingers sometimes for the same note, and there's no rhyme or reason. It's just something that subconsciously happens. Don't get caught up so much in how I'm playing it, what fingers I'm using, or what this person uses, or how that person plays it. What I really want you to figure out is what feels most natural to you, and just go with that. You guys have heard me say that a gazillion times, but I think it's super important, okay? It's really, practicing and learning things like this, but also developing your own style, like we talked about earlier with the bends and such, right? And also figuring out what feels just most natural to you. Sometimes what feels natural to you may be a little awkward to someone else, and it might not be right in someone else's eyes. Oh, you're doing that wrong. You're using the wrong fingers. Why would you do that? Look, at the end of the day, you've got to figure out what works for you, and that's pretty much the go-to in everything in life. All right, let's move on to the final progression. Now we're in the key of B minor. We'll go through the chords first. I do this a little differently. There's no right or wrong way here, but you notice I didn't go for the higher strings this time. You could play this. But I just play this instead. The chords are still the same. Again, we're in B minor, so you've got that B power chord. We're going to play a G power chord. Then we do that F sharp over D, okay? Then we go to an A power chord. Kind of the same thing that we did going from E minor to F sharp minor. We just moved everything up a whole step. This makes the lead pattern really easy, right? Where did we start last time? In the key of A minor. Well, we started out on the B string 10th fret. So what are we going to do? What did that progression just do? A minor to B minor. We moved up an entire step, right? Skipping a fret. So what are we going to do now? We're going to start, move up a whole step, 12th fret, okay? And then we just pretty much replicate everything we did earlier. So it's going to sound like this. It is time for our guitar chat, guys, but a quick reminder to my Patreon members, you guys had the tabs and the backing tracks for this lesson. Don't forget to download those and go through those. Also, guys, if you do not have my free practice guide, Metal Riffs and Licks, I've got a link to that in the description of this video. That has literally helped thousands of my YouTube subscribers here. If you do have all of that and you want to jump into one of my guitar courses, well, guys, just check out the description of this video. Got a lot of great resources for you there. One of the things I talked about when we were learning that first lick and the first progression was the little nuances that I'll throw in from time to time, like the little bends, just adding some flavor to your licks and your rhythms for that matter. I want to encourage you to do this, guys. I want to encourage you, don't just learn the notes. Okay, I go here, 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 do bend here. I want you to really just put your heart into your playing, and I also encourage you to allow your personal style to come out in that, okay? As you're learning these techniques, okay, learn the techniques, learn the riffs and licks and all that good stuff, but if you don't play it exactly like the other guitar player that maybe you're learning from, maybe you're learning out of, well, one of my videos, maybe you're learning a song, if you don't play exactly what they play or how they play it and something else is kind of coming to you instead, go with what's coming to you instead, okay? First of all, well, that's their song, right? And again, I want you to learn what I'm presenting to you here on YouTube, even in my courses. You guys know I had the Metal Riff Master course. You know, you might play something a little different. You might hear something differently. Well, I want to encourage you to go with that, okay? That's not the wrong way, that's just your way. Again, learn the principles, nail down the basics, but allow yourself to develop your own style and just allow yourself to grow as a guitar player and as a musician. This is the most exciting thing that you can do. I want to encourage that, okay? So take these little licks that we've learned today, okay? Take them and just add some spice, add your own flavor to them. You may see me do a bend here, but you may want to do it somewhere else. You may not want to do a bend. Maybe you do like a little tapping thing or just something. It doesn't matter what it is. Just play around with these. You also find, and this is important here, as you play the same lick, in this case in different keys, you may find that different little techniques and methods work better in this key than that one. So for example, let's say the lick we did in E minor, okay, we had those little bends in there, right? You add your own flavor to it. When you get to the next key, same lick, next key, moving a whole step up in F sharp minor, you might decide to throw in a different little nuance, aka method, okay? It might sound better. So just play around with those licks in different keys. Now, I also want to encourage you, and you guys know this is coming, you know me by now, add to this lesson here, okay? Don't just play what I played in the lesson. Don't just play what I showed you. If you noticed, I left a lot of room after that last note when the progression is still going. I did that on purpose. That's where I want you to come in and add some more notes. Add another melody, maybe shred a little, do whatever you want. So just expand. I always encourage you guys to take my videos, my lessons, whether it's YouTube and Patreon or whether it's one of my courses. Hey, I always encourage you to take that, make it your own by expanding on it. Maybe you add notes to it, maybe you take some notes away, but just make it your own. And again, focus on developing your own style, not someone else's, okay? That's super important, especially when it comes to lead guitar playing. If you want your guitar solos to stand out, It's not so much about being super fast, because you can say, hey, well, this is the fastest guitar player in the world right here. And then I'll say, wait a minute, I'll scroll through, whatever social media, I'll find a 12-year-old on the other side of the world that blows that person away. And then you'll find an 11-year-old that blows that one away. Then there'll be an 80-year-old that blows those away. Okay, so that never ends, guys. Be fast. I'm not saying don't practice shredding. Shredding is awesome. I love it. But it's really not about being that or being the quote-unquote best, because that's very subjective anyway. It's about being your own original self when it comes to music and when it comes to life in general. So I just want to encourage that, guys. Focus, focus, focus the majority of your energy on developing your own style and sound. Okay, so do that. Guys, I hope this video helped you. Drop me some comments if you have any questions. And hey, until the next video, as always, keep it metal and keep playing music.